Hey there. Welcome back to our AI in Action series here on Tech Savvy 101, your go-to podcast for learning how to use AI tools in real time. I'm Sarah Baker, your tech savvy bestie with another time-saving AI trick that's going to make your life so much easier. Whether you're an experienced AI user or just getting the hang of things when it comes to artificial intelligence, stick with me as I share some of my favorite tips, tricks, tools, and shortcuts to save you hours each week within your business. In these episodes, I'm not just talking about AI tools, I'm showing you how to use them in real time. If you're listening to this episode right now, don't worry, you'll find the YouTube link to this episode in the show notes. Feel free to listen along right now and then grab the link afterwards. Here's what you can expect from today's episode. We are diving into iterative prompting today. Now, before you say, Sarah, what the heck does that mean? It's much simpler than it sounds. This is a technique that will help you refine ChatGPT's responses and get closer to the results that you are looking for. I'm going to show you what iterative prompting is, how to use it, and practical tips to keep your conversations focused and productive. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the rest of the series, and leave a review if today's episode helps you feel more confident using ChatGPT. And if there's another tool that you want me to cover in future AI in Action episodes, let me know. So before we dive in, let's start off by defining what is iterative prompting. It's all about refining your ChatGPT responses based on your initial prompt step by step. So why do we care about this? According to an OpenAI study, users who refined their prompts with follow-up questions and information improved the quality of their results by over 36% compared to users who don't. So instead of expecting the perfect answer on the first try, you experiment, you analyze the response, you make adjustments, and you're having a back and forth conversation with ChatGPT. You are letting it know what you liked, what you didn't. You're asking it questions, you're providing it with more information, and you're giving it feedback. If we go back to my favorite analogy that I have used in prior episodes of AI in Action, ChatGPT is Chad, your unpaid intern. It's his very first day at work. He doesn't know very much about you. Every time you're going back and forth, you're helping Chad learn more about you, your business, your offers, and your products. You're giving him that information so that he can provide you with the results that you are expecting of him. But it's unrealistic to expect that Chad is going to be a super intern on his very first day at work. I like to use the analogy as well of Jerry Maguire, but instead of saying, show me the money, you have to show ChatGPT the data. It's a two-way conversation between you and ChatGPT. Let's look at this another way, like a funnel. We all know everybody's favorite funnel, the sales funnel. At the top, you start broad, you're reaching a lot of people, but it's more of a general message. And then as you move down the funnel, you're refining it. Your audience, the message gets more targeted. And by the time you hit the bottom, you only have the most qualified leads, that dream lead, or in this case, the best responses are what you're getting. So here's the visual. We've got our initial prompt at the top of our funnel. And then we're going back to ChatGPT and we're giving it more information, and we're getting it going from the general response to feedback that we're providing, and we're getting a little bit better. And then we're saying, oh, well, can you actually tweak it? And then we're getting more targeted. And then finally, at the bottom of our funnel, just like in a sales funnel, we have our dream leads, the people who are ready to make a purchase. In our ChatGPT iterative prompting funnel, at the bottom of our funnel, we have our focused, best quality output. If funnels aren't your thing, let's talk about baking. The first time you try a recipe, you follow the instructions, the cake might come out undercooked or too dry or a little bit bland. So the next time you make those adjustments, you're tweaking it. You might preheat the oven longer, try a different temperature, add more sugar, put in a new spice. By the third or the fourth attempt, you have nailed the recipe and you've got the perfect cake, and it's your own custom recipe. That is iterative prompting. It's the process of trying, tweaking, and adjusting until you get the outcome that you are looking for. The key here is to stay curious. Keep experimenting, making adjustments until you get what you want, and don't give up. But since this is an episode of AI in Action, let's see it in action. Let's say we are going to write a family-friendly recipe. I'm not logged in to my own ChatGPT account right now because mine is so customized to my output that occasionally when I give examples that are not related to my business. It tries to insert my business in, and sometimes the output can be confused because it's trying to customize it for my business. So let's give an example of writing a family-friendly recipe blog post. And we're going to start with a broad top of funnel prompt, and then we're going to work it down the funnel. In this case, I'm going to say something like, write a blog post for a family-friendly recipe. The recipe is for chocolate chip cookies. So it's going to go ahead and write a blog post. I'm not going to read the entire thing because we don't need to read it, but the gist of it is, it's come up with, there's something magical about the aroma of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies filling your kitchen. It's a scent that brings back memories of family gatherings, cozy afternoons, and of course, the joy of eating that warm, gooey cookie right out of the oven. Whether you're baking with little ones or just looking to treat yourself, the classic chocolate chip cookie recipe is simple, delicious, and perfect for making memories in the kitchen. Now, that's a good intro, but it's generic, right? There's no personalized story, and it doesn't feel like something, if I was a mom blogger, it's not something I'd want to share with my audience because it doesn't speak to my specific audience. It doesn't say anything about me, my family, why I'm making chocolate chip cookies, right? I mean, you've all gone and tried to get a recipe, right? Where all you want is the recipe and instead you read like a novel. That's what you get when you're writing a blog post. So, and then, you've got the standard recipe, cool. And then it gives me a little blurb about why this is family friendly. Great. It's a good first start. So now I'm going to come back and we're going to narrow the funnel. I'm going to add some personality. I'm going to add a personal anecdote about baking these cookies with 3 kids. And it's going to add a blurb. So it started with the magical aroma of freshly baked cookies, all of that. And it's now added a second section. A few weekends ago, I decided to make a batch of chocolate chip cookies with my 3 kids, ages 4, 7, and 10. Is that true about me? No, but in this case, this is not my vlog. I wasn't sure what to expect. Would the kitchen end up looking like a flower explosion? Would we end up with more dough on the floor than the bowl? Would the cookies even turn out okay? But surprisingly, it was one of the most fun, chaotic, and rewarding afternoons we've had in a while. It goes on about something about the giggles and the 7-year-old being so precise with the measurements and being a mini baker, and the 10-year-old being in charge of the timer. Talks about, I stood there guiding them through the steps. I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Sure, we had a few spills, and the kitchen may have looked like a mini disaster zone, but the laughter, the teamwork, and the joy of seeing their faces light up when the cookies finally came out of the oven made it all worth it. And the best part, we all agreed these were by far the best cookies we'd ever made. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, this is a made-up story. If you are using this for your own brand, I highly encourage you to not just say, add a personal anecdote about baking these cookies with 3 kids, but tell ChatGPT something that happened. And now it can then turn your short anecdote that you provide into a longer story like this, but do not use a made up story. But this is great that it now has personalized it. It's already much better with the personal story than it was in the prior one. But maybe this is too long. A lot of people complain when they go to blogs about having to read, and scroll and scroll and scroll just to get to the recipe. So what's our next step? How are we going to further refine it? Maybe we want to tell ChatGPT about our target audience. Who is my target audience in this scenario? Probably busy moms. But maybe it's a little too long because my target audience is busy. So I'm going to say, keep it concise and relatable for busy moms. Include a tip for involving kids in the baking process. It's condensed it and it's taken out some of the prior information. As a mom of 3, I know how chaotic things can get, especially on weekends. But there's something so satisfying about taking a break from the hustle and baking a batch of homemade chocolate chip cookies. The kids are always eager to help, and it's the perfect way to turn a simple activity into a fun family moment, even if the kitchen ends up a bit messy. A few weeks ago, I decided to bake cookies with my 4, 7, and 10-year-old. The kitchen was a whirlwind of flour, chocolate chips, and giggles, but the best part was seeing how much joy they took in each step. The youngest snuck a few chocolate chips, and the middle one took charge of mixing, and the oldest kept a time on the timer. By the time the cookies were ready, we were all gathered around savoring warm cookies and feeling of togetherness. This is great. It's targeted, it's relatable, it includes a tip that busy moms will appreciate. And then it gets right to the recipe, which is the reason they're on the blog, right? They're not here to hear your life story. I also love that it has a little tip at the end. So it goes story, recipe, instructions, and then it gets to the tip. Tip for involving kids. Let your little ones help by measuring the dry ingredients or using a cookie scoop to place dough on the baking sheet. My kids love getting their hands dirty with the dough, and it's a great opportunity to teach them about following directions and working together. And then it even has a final thoughts. Even in the middle of a busy weekend, baking cookies together is a simple, joyful way to connect as a family. Plus, who doesn't love a homemade chocolate chip cookie? So grab your kids, make some memories, and enjoy the sweet reward. This is great. Honestly, you could use it from here, or you could add one more layer of refinement. Maybe your target audience likes gluten-free or wants tips on allergies or one more thing. So that way it's even more specific. For that last final refinement, you could suggest things like include a section on making the recipe gluten-free or suggestions for substitutions to accommodate allergies. I also want to point out that I spelled accommodate wrong, and ChatGPT doesn't need you to be perfect or spell things correctly. So I can hit submit exactly as it is, even with the spelling error. And then it's got the tips for involving kids, and then the making it allergy friendly section with swaps out for gluten free or dairy free or egg free or nut free. That's a great way to add even more specificity. At this point, I've got a fantastic, really, really specific blog post that has pro tips, a personal story, speaks to my target customer. And, if we go all the way back up to the beginning to the very first section, which was just bland and boring and generic and didn't speak to any of those things, and we compare it, the original pro tips were chill the dough, add-ins, and size matters. And then we go all the way back down to where we ended. They are so wildly different. And all it took was a couple of now do this, now do this, now can you add this? And then the real level up would be telling ChatGPT, great, now can you take this final version and create 5 different Instagram captions I can use to direct people to my blog post. And then this is the way that you can just continue to go. You've created the content and now you can repurpose that content. If you're going to post your blog post and you want to direct people to it, now ChatGPT knows everything about this blog post because you've given it so much detail. Why not just keep going and say, hey, can you make me some captions so that I can use those captions and point people to my blog post? The possibilities are almost endless. Iterative prompting isn't just for ChatGPT. This works for Claude, for Perplexity, for Jasper, and other similar AI tools. For this AI in Action series here on Tech Savvy 101, we started out with learning about ChatGPT, but soon we're going to start diving into other AI tools. Remember, when it comes to iterative prompting, the goal here is just to experiment, adjust, and don't be afraid of a little trial and error. It is all part of the process. The more you continue to refine your ChatGPT on all things related to your offers, your brands, and your business now, the more it's going to pay off for you down the road as you continue to get better and better results out of your AI. And there you have it, another time-saving AI trick ready for you to start using today. If you want to see how I did it, make sure to check out the video demo in the show notes or catch me on YouTube. In our next AI in Action episode, we are going to be discussing how to establish your brand voice so ChatGPT will consistently create content that feels authentically, awesomely just like you. If today's episode helped you to improve your ChatGPT results, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Or send the show a text. Click the link in the show notes and let me know how you're using iterative prompting within your business. I'll see you really soon.